we take a look at how Coruscant remained oh so beautiful after the massive battle which took place overhead on today's Star Wars video. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars video. So, a fun one today, a really fun one actually, because we got some new lore about the Battle of Coruscant that I wanted to share with you. Before we get into that though, today's video is sponsored by the Eckhart's Ladder store. Go to eckhartsladder.com or click the link in the description. The sort of wave 0 of items are now live. We've got pins, shirts, lots of cool stuff coming and far more on the way. Check out this awesome Jedi Praxium style summer camp shirt we're working on. This is still very rough, but I can't wait to get some cool stuff out to you guys. Anyway, some of the new information from today's video comes from the upcoming Star Wars novel Mask of Fear. I am on the Del Rey advanced reader copy list. So I got the book early, I've been reading it, so far it's really excellent. I wanted to share just a slight spoiler from one of the first chapters, which takes place about a month after the Battle of Coruscant. If you want to go in completely fresh, I understand. Me personally, this is the kind of spoiler I wouldn't have minded reading. So, Mon Mothma, alongside a group of other politicians, engineers, and displaced persons, visit a site of wreckage on the surface of Coruscant. There we learn that although the battle overhead was deadly, it could have been far worse. The dead on Coruscant numbered in the tens or perhaps hundreds of thousands, which, considering the scale of the city, is a miracle. We're talking a planet of trillions. Individual buildings here probably contained hundreds of thousands of people, if not more, across their many levels. This is because, except in some limited cases, the CIS generally did not bombard the planet with either missiles or turbolasers. Instead, the attack on Coruscant, as we've seen throughout Star Wars media, everything from the original Clone Wars to Revenge of the Sith itself, was more of a smash and grab operation where they got in, kidnapped the Chancellor as an attempt, at least on the surface, to end the war quickly in one fell swoop. Most of the damage to the Ecumenopolis' cityscape was due to crashing starships, whether big, like capital ships, or small, like starfighters. However, even there, the damage was made somewhat better by the fact that many of these ships burned up as they were crashing towards the surface. Still, the devastation was terrible, and while only tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands were killed, surely millions or more were displaced. Presumably as well, the upper city went into some form of lockdown as the battle was occurring, but this actually matches fairly well with what we see in Revenge of the Sith. We get lots of shots of Coruscant throughout the entire movie, and generally, the planet looks pretty good. Obviously, there's some destruction caused when the Invisible Hand crashes on the surface, but even that ship only made it down because Anakin was specifically trying to land it, and it seemed also to be separate from the rest of the fleet, especially as the battle progressed. In most other cases, by the time the ships were falling to the planet's surface, I guess they would have been in worse shape, with the crew completely evacuated. Obviously, that's not what happened here, and I'm guessing that's why the Invisible Hand was sort of a rarity in that it came down mostly in one piece. Though we see even with the flaps out and everything else, it still starts to break apart as it enters the atmosphere. Still, nothing in really authoritative canon sources seems to indicate that the CIS actually did any sort of significant bombing to the planet. And I've always found it a little funny how quickly they go from the Republic capital has been attacked to everything is fine now. Even when the Invisible Hand is crashing towards the planetary surface, it doesn't seem like things are too bad down on Coruscant. Unsurprisingly, the book also paints the Battle of Coruscant as the greatest Republic victory during the war, which makes sense. The Revenge of the Sith novelization goes into how this was one of the legendary moments of Anakin Skywalker's career, how Palpatine, who was seen as sort of a guiding light for the Republic, was captured by General Grievous, sort of the pure embodiment of terror and evil to much of the galaxy. The Republic, it seems to me, was certainly turning the tide at this point of the war, and with the death of Dooku, the scattering of the CIS fleet, and the Separatist retreat to the Outer Rim, yeah, it makes sense that this would be the most significant battle. One funny moment that goes into this a bit more is as Mon Mothma is interrogated by basically a news service droid, which has been programmed by the Empire. She gets some very unfair, very mean questions, very bad publicity all across the HoloNet. But how does this information match what we know from Star Wars Legends and the rest of canon? Well, the Battle of Coruscant has never really made a whole lot of sense just because some pieces are missing. Various sources, in Star Wars Legends especially, have tried to explain this. It's never really been done to satisfaction, in my opinion. So, we know the CIS apparently showed up. They somehow got past the planetary shields to the surface. Then they stole Palpatine, but why didn't they leave after that? Well, in Legends, I don't know if it's a convincing picture, but basically the idea is that the CIS, furnished with secret hyperspace routes, is able to surprise the Coruscant home fleet and presumably the other defenses around the planet. They either overwhelm the shield or get underneath it with their fleet. They launch a strike to the planet's surface, they kidnap Palpatine, then they retreat to the Invisible Hand, at which point the shield actually prevents them from leaving. I mean, I guess that sort of makes sense, but in that case, why do you not see the fleet raining down fire on Coruscant? Them not leaving is just kind of nonsensical, and I don't think that this new lore edition really hurts or helps that issue. Obviously, we know that Palpatine wouldn't have wanted to leave because the entire plan was to get Anakin isolated and to further his fall to the dark side while also replacing Count Dooku. So it makes sense from that perspective. How did the military strategists of the CIS or Republic explain it? Perhaps the CIS thought that they had an opportunity to not just kidnap Palpatine, but also strike a decisive blow to the Republic's home fleet, in which case, sure, maybe that's why they stayed. I guess that's an okay scenario. Either way, I don't think this new bit of lore is either consistent or inconsistent with any of that. It's most consistent with what we get in the film, where Coruscant very clearly is okay and returns to its normal status within days. Keep in mind, and this might surprise some of you, Revenge of the Sith takes place over the course of a few days. Padme is not only pregnant when she meets Anakin, she's nearly ready to pop. That's something I think which is not necessarily clear in the film, but it also reinforces the idea that, yep, Coruscant was pretty much back to normal. They got the operas and the music scene back going. So definitely kind of interesting. Maybe we'll find out more as we read the novel. I haven't finished it yet. I'm really enjoying it. Star Wars Legends also gave us many cool Coruscant stories. Remember, Coruscant was named and invented for Legends before canon. In the 90s, for example, before the prequels, we had Wedge's Gamble, where they try to take down Coruscant's planetary shields from the inside, facilitating an invasion by the New Republic's fleet. There we learn that Coruscant is basically covered by these giant constructor droids. They would have helped the planet repair itself very quickly. They were almost like mini world devastators in a way, where they suck up material and can print out new buildings or plans or whatever so that the cityscape can be altered fairly quickly. So maybe some of those were also employed in repairing Coruscant. But that's my little look at the novel, some cool new lore we got. Do you think it makes sense that the Confederacy didn't target the planet's surface? What would have been their reason? Did they simply not have the firepower to fight the fleet and engage the planet's surface at the same time? Did they not want to make themselves look worse in hopes of forcing a peace after Palpatine was kidnapped? Or did Palpatine want his new future Imperial Center to remain relatively safe? A couple of shots hitting the Jedi Temple probably wouldn't have been against his wishes, though. I think it's possible where Palpatine knew the war was about to be wrapped up. He didn't want the CIS to commit such an atrocity that they could have distracted from the new Jedi threat, but that's just me spitballing. I also think, kind of completely opposite, that Coruscant was such a spectacle that it probably scared the galaxy and certainly the elites, which would have helped Palpatine justify increased spending under the Empire. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on all this and more. And let me know if you have any questions too with the hashtag AskEck down below. Don't forget, check the description. The Eckhart's Letter store is live. New designs coming out, I'd say, within the week.